Father Miguel sat alone in his dimly lit office. The soft glow from the monitor, casting long stretching shadows across the room's wooden walls and dusty shelves. The recent wave of burglaries that had swept through the parish weighed heavily on his heart, compelling him to review footage from the newly installed hidden cameras after night. Though his hope was thin, Miguel prayed, quietly asking for even the faintest clue that might reveal who had been targeting their small beloved church. Hours passed slowly, marked only by the flickering of the security screens and the occasional creak of the old building, settling in the night just as Miguel was about to switch off the monitor and call it a night. Something unusual caught his. A familiar figure appeared on the screen, moving with careful purpose. Through the east corridor, Miguel's breath caught in his throat as the figure stepped into the camera's light. It was Cardinal Luis Antonio, the esteemed and much admired visitor to their parish. The cardinal moved as though completely unaware of the cameras, watching his every action. Deliberate and measured, Miguel leaned forward, heart pounding, watching in disbelief as the man who had just hours earlier brought hope and joy to the parish now crept through its darkened halls under the cover of night. 2 weeks earlier, the atmosphere in town had been entirely different. The small parish community had been abuzz with excitement after hearing that Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, known far and wide for his compassion, humility, and warmth, would be visiting their church. Word spread quickly, igniting a spark of anticipation not only among the devout regulars but also among those who rarely set foot inside the sanctuary. His reputation had grown far beyond the walls of the church, making him a figure admired by all, from the elderly women who recited their rosaries each morning to the young families eager to bring their children to meet such an inspiring leader. The days leading up to the cardinal's arrival were a flurry of preparation. Volunteers polished the pews until they gleamed, swept the stone courtyard until every fallen leaf was cleared away and carefully arranged. Fresh flowers and decorative banners to honor the cardinal's visit on the day itself. Father Miguel, standing at the front of the church, addressed the congregation with a cheerful voice. "Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all having a wonderful start to the new ecclesiastical year. Welcome back to Street Sophia's. Today we're here with the help of Cosmos Philly to show you the newest things going on here at St. Sophia's in terms of our church families. Began arriving hours before the service, eager to secure a seat close enough to see the cardinal in person. Before long, the church was full to overflowing and even the courtyard outside filled with people craning their necks and standing on tiptoes just to glimpse the man whose presence seemed to radiate hope and reassurance. Miguel stood near the main entrance, fidgeting nervously with the collar of his robes despite the cool evening breeze. His palms were damp. He had met Cardinal Tagle before, but this time the meeting felt heavier, more significant. In the background of his mind lurked the recent burglaries, a cloud over the otherwise joyous gathering. Miguel silently prayed that perhaps the cardinal's visit might lift the parish's spirits and bring much needed relief, even if only symbolically. The sound of gravel crunching under tires snapped Miguel's attention to the sleek black car pulling up outside. Taking a deep breath, it stepped forward. As the vehicle came to a stop, the cardinal emerged, offering his familiar warm smile and a small, graceful bow. "The gathered crowd, Your Eminence." Miguel greeted him, bowing deeply. A ripple of calm seemed to pass through the crowd, loosening shoulders and drawing smiles from tense faces. Parishioners who had been weary or anxious due to the recent crimes now greeted one another with warmth and optimism, as if the cardinal's mere arrival had eased their burdens. Inside, Cardinal Tagle moved gracefully among the people, shaking hands, offering blessings and speaking to each person. With genuine interest, Miguel watched with admiration as the cardinal made each individual feel seen and valued, carrying himself with the humility of a true servant despite his high rank. Amidst the joy and celebration, something caught Miguel's eye. The church housekeeper stood near the side aisle, her normally calm demeanor replaced by one of visible tension. Her hands fidgeted nervously at her sides, and she kept glancing toward the cardinal with an expression Miguel could not quite identify. Was it fear, concern, guilt? The subtlety of her unease unsettled Miguel enough for him to make a mental note to speak with her later. For now, though, his attention remained on ensuring the evening unfolded smoothly. Little did he know that this moment, this small, seemingly insignificant observation, would mark the beginning of a series of events that would soon challenge everything he thought he knew. As the evening progressed, Clara lingered in the shadows near the sanctuary, her hands clasped tightly, her gaze fixed on the cardinal. Her posture was rigid, as if she were bracing herself for something she dreaded. When the cardinal eventually moved closer to where she stood, Clara hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward. In a hushed tone, she whispered something to him, words Miguel could not hear. From his position, the cardinal, for his part, nodded slightly, his calm expression betraying nothing of the exchange. Without another word, Clara turned and exited the room abruptly, her pale face etched with an emotion Miguel still could not quite name. His stomach churned. Clara had always been discreet, composed, never want to draw attention, and yet here she was acting in a way that seemed entirely out of character. Miguel tried to brush aside his unease, blaming it on the stress of the day and the importance of the occasion. But the image of Clara's fleeting words and the cardinal's quiet response clung stubbornly to the edges of his mind. Near midnight, the shrill buzz of Miguel's phone shattered the stillness of his modest bedroom. Jolted awake, he fumbled in the dark, squinting at the screen. The caller ID displayed the name of the security company responsible for the church's new surveillance system. Miguel's heart clenched after weeks of watching hours of uneventful footage. The call at this hour could only mean one thing: trouble. Father Miguel, came the calm yet urgent voice of the operator. We've detected unusual activity on the church premises. You may want to review the footage from camera 3 near the east corridor. Miguel hung up his heart, thudding in his chest, pulling a jacket over his night clothes. He heard through the silent shadowed church toward the small security office where the monitors sat. Moonlight filtered through the stained glass windows, casting fractured rainbows across the cold floor, but the beauty of the scene did little to ease his growing dread. Once seated before the glowing screens, Miguel navigated to the relevant footage. At first, everything looked as it should: empty hallways, locked doors, the familiar stillness that always blanketed the church after hours. But then, as the time stamp crept past 11 p.m., a figure emerged. Miguel's breath caught. It was Cardinal Luis Antonio. The cardinal moved cautiously, pausing every few steps to glance over his shoulder. His movements were deliberate, almost furtive. Gave him a small, fearful nod. Steeling himself, Miguel followed the boy across the courtyard, his mind